Have you noticed that the silent clutter in your mind, home and finances, is taking a heavy toll? Chaos steals your energy, your clarity, and even your prosperity. But there's a secret. When you organize your life quietly, without fanfare, the quantum field begins to respond. And a financial miracle can happen before your eyes. The question is, are you willing to create this inner order today? Because deep down you already know, it's not the external noise that weighs most heavily, but the internal confusion that insists on repeating itself. How many times have you found yourself tired, overwhelmed, rushing around all day, and yet feeling like you've achieved nothing? How many times have you reached the end of the month without understanding where your money went? Or looked around your home and realized that the mess seemed to reflect exactly how you felt inside? Clutter is like a silent thief. It doesn't shout, it doesn't make a fuss, but it drains your energy, drop by drop. When you tolerate a chaotic environment, your mind becomes chaotic too. When you accept disorganized finances, prosperity retreats. When you repeat misaligned thoughts, your frequency fragments. It's in this invisible space between your habits and your energy that scarcity finds a way to take hold. But here's the revelation. The universe doesn't need grand gestures to move in your favor. It responds to small, silent acts of order, done with intention and consistency. Organizing your life isn't about perfection. It's about vibration. Every time you tidy your desk, pay an outstanding bill, or silence an inner critic, you're sending a clear message to the quantum field. I am ready to thrive. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a mirror. If this mirror is dusty, you see nothing but distortions. But when you clean it, even in silence, the reflection begins to shine. The field works the same way. When you organize yourself inside and out, it reflects that clarity back in the form of opportunities, synchronicities, and abundance. It's at this point that the financial miracle happens, not as an unexpected explosion, but as the natural response of a frequency that has finally found order. Perhaps you're expecting a complicated solution, a grand plan, a secret technique. But what if the key already lay in something simple? What if the true gateway to your prosperity was simply to silently organize what you already carry, your mind, your space, your energy? Because when you choose this inner order, everything around you begins to align. Today you have a choice. You can continue to allow clutter to decide your destiny, or you can stand up, take a deep breath, and start organizing. Not for others to see, not to prove anything, but silently, as if speaking directly to the universe. Because each small act of order is a seed of abundance you plant. And sooner or later, that seed blossoms into true prosperity. Have you ever noticed how clutter creeps in little by little, without asking permission? It begins almost imperceptibly, with a misinterpreted thought, a messy drawer, a bill you avoid looking at. It seems small, but deep down, each of these choices builds an invisible field that traps you in the same place. Chaos doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds in silent layers until one day you wake up and feel like you're living a life you no longer recognize as your own. Look honestly at the signs. How many times have you told yourself, I don't have time to organize anything? And yet you spent hours lost in distractions, scrolling through social media, feeding worries that lead nowhere. How many times have you promised yourself you'd get your finances in order, but preferred to put it off, putting it off until the pile of bills became an unbearable burden? How many times have you tolerated people, habits, or environments that drain your energy, just because it was easier to keep everything as is? This is the trap of clutter. It disguises itself as normality. You start to believe that being tired is normal, that being in debt is common, that waking up unmotivated is part of adulthood. But common doesn't mean healthy. What's accepted by the majority doesn't mean it works for you. The quantum field responds not to what you say you want, but to what you allow to remain. If your external life is chaotic, it's because your internal field is still emitting the signal of disorder. And clutter doesn't just affect your productivity or your mood, it saps your vital energy. It makes you waste focus on things that don't matter, drains your clarity when faced with opportunities, and most importantly, blocks the prosperity that could be coming your way. It's like trying to fill a leaky cup. No matter how much effort you put in, abundance slips through the cracks of your own disorganization. Think about your physical environment. A messy home isn't just a visual nuisance, it's a mirror of your mind. If your room is full of misplaced objects, if your desk is covered in papers and distractions, how can you expect your mind to be clear enough to create, thrive, and make informed decisions? The external world is always a reflection of the internal. Therefore, when you choose to organize your home, you're not just tidying up objects, you're clearing frequencies, freeing up space for new things, creating a vibrational field of order that the universe immediately recognizes. Now think about your finances. How many times have you chosen to ignore your bank statement because you knew you'd find something unpleasant? How many times have you spent impulsively, telling yourself, "I deserve it," when in reality you were sabotaging yourself? Money isn't just numbers in an account, it's condensed energy. It's a reflection of how you respect the time and effort you invest in life. When your finances are in disarray, the universe interprets this as a sign of scarcity. It's as if you're vibrating, "I don't know how to manage what I have," and the result is obvious. The universe no longer gives you anything because it realizes you haven't yet created space to sustain abundance. And the same goes for thoughts and emotions. How many times have you reacted explosively, turning simple situations into unnecessary storms? How many relationships have been strained because you misinterpreted criticism or let pride get the better of you? Every hasty judgment is a distortion in your frequency. It's as if you put a dirty lens over your eyes and begin to see everything in a fuzzy way. The problem was never the event itself, but the energy you choose to generate in response to it. This is the uncomfortable truth. You suffer not from what happens, but from the internal clutter that colors every experience. And until you organize this lens, you will remain trapped in cycles of repetition. You will react the same way, attract the same situations, experience the same dramas, until you finally wake up and realize that the root is not external, but internal. And why does this happen? Because clutter has a subtle power to create anesthesia. You get used to it. You learn to live with the messy room, the overdue bills, the racing mind. You learn to justify it. Everyone lives like this, it's not that serious. But this tolerance is precisely what keeps you trapped. What you tolerate today becomes the limit of your life tomorrow. Now, imagine for a moment the consequences of this on a larger scale. A person who doesn't organize their time is always running around, reacting to the world instead of leading it. A person who doesn't organize their finances lives in constant anxiety, unable to think about the future because they are too busy putting out fires in the present. A person who doesn't organize their emotions becomes a slave to their own impulses, losing relationships, opportunities, and inner peace. And a person who doesn't organize their environment lives in a polluted energy field, incapable of sustaining clarity or prosperity. This is the invisible prison of disorder. And perhaps you're feeling exactly this right now. Life passing by, days repeating themselves, the feeling of being constantly tired and unproductive, unable to understand why. Nothing moves forward. But deep down, the answer is simple. Until you create order, chaos rules. Until you consciously decide to take charge, the field continues to reflect the pattern of confusion you still carry. And here's the most painful part. Disorder takes its toll. Every ignored debt grows. Every avoided conversation becomes a greater emotional burden. Every misplaced object accumulates stagnant energy. Every repressed emotion turns into physical tension. The price of disorder is always higher than you imagine. But there's good news. Just as chaos builds on small choices, order also begins with small gestures. You don't have to change everything at once. You just need to decide today, right now, that you will no longer tolerate the clutter that drains your energy. You need to choose a point and begin, because every act of order is a vibrational code that makes room for the miracle. Every tidy drawer, every debt paid off, every redefined thought is a signal sent to the field. I am ready for the next level. And if you doubt this, observe yourself. How do you feel when you finally organize something that's been pending for a long time? How do you feel when you clear a space and suddenly breathe easier? How do you feel when you pay off a debt and feel the weight lift from your shoulders? These sensations aren't just psychological, they're vibrational responses. It's the field recognizing the new frequency you've activated. Now imagine multiplying this. Imagine organizing not just one part, but all areas of your life. Imagine aligning your mind, your environment, your finances, and your emotions. Imagine what would happen if instead of living in reaction, you began to live in creation. The field would have no choice but to respond. Because the universe is coherent, it always returns what you vibrate. Therefore, the chaos you feel today isn't a final sentence. It's just a reflection of what hasn't yet been organized. And that means it's in your hands to change. Not tomorrow, not when you have more time, but now. Because the more you put it off, the more the clutter grows. And the sooner you choose order, the faster the miracle begins to manifest. So take a deep breath and acknowledge. The disorder you tolerate is costing you dearly. And today you can decide to end this invisible debt. Today you can choose to prioritize the silent order that makes room for abundance. Because when you organize your life silently, without seeking recognition, the field understands that it is real. And when the field understands, prosperity is quick to respond. You already understand that disorder is an invisible prison. It steals energy, clarity, and prosperity. But now is the time to move beyond the pain. This is where the turning point happens. Because organizing your life is not just a practical act, it is a vibrational process. It is the bridge between the science of the mind and daily discipline. It is the encounter between the quantum energy that responds to your frequency and the practical system that sustains that frequency every day. Imagine your mind as a constantly emitting electromagnetic field. Every thought you have generates an electrical wave. Every emotion you feel generates a magnetic wave. Together, these waves create a field, a signal that is sent out into the universe. When your life is in disarray, this field fragments. The universe receives mixed signals. Sometimes you vibrate abundance, sometimes scarcity, sometimes clarity, sometimes doubt. And the result is exactly this: fragmented experiences. Abundance mixed with crises, advances followed by setbacks. Now think the opposite. Imagine aligning your mind in silence, consciously choosing thoughts that elevate your energy, cultivating emotions that sustain your frequency. What happens? The field begins to stabilize. Reality responds with synchronicities, opportunities, encounters that seem like coincidences, but are actually a reflection of the order you've activated within yourself. This is how quantum physics explains manifestation. It's not magic, it's vibrational coherence. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you can sustain as a state of being. But here's the secret that few understand. It's not enough to raise your vibration once. It's not enough to feel abundance for a few minutes and then return to chaos. The key is consistency, and this is where discipline comes in. This is where spiritual wisdom meets practical strength, because there is no sustained frequency without a system. There is no financial miracle without a silent routine to support it. There is no point in vibrating abundance in the morning and living in financial disarray at night. The field senses inconsistency and suspends manifestation. This is why Brian Tracy teaches, success is not the result of motivation, but of repeated systems. Everyone has the same 24 hours, but what makes the difference is not the time itself, but how you organize it. The average person wastes energy on activities that don't matter, confuses movement with progress, feels busy but never moves forward. The organized person chooses priorities, creates systems, protects their energy. While many put out fires, they build, and this construction, day after day, becomes prosperity. When you combine these two truths, Joe Dispenza's vibrational frequency and Brian Tracy's practical discipline, something powerful happens. You understand that organizing your life means aligning field and system, energy and routine, vibration and discipline. It's as if your life were a garden. Quantum energy is the sun that makes everything grow, but without planting, watering or pruning, nothing blooms. The sun alone doesn't produce fruit. It's the union of light and daily care that generates abundance. Now see how this applies to specific areas of your life. In your mind, you need to train your observation. Instead of getting lost in automatic thoughts, consciously choose new internal words. Replace "I can't" with "I'm still learning." Replace "I'm a failure" with "I'm growing." Each word is a vibrational seed. But remember, repeating it once isn't enough. You need to create a habit, an internal review system. Set aside 5 minutes a day to observe how you spoke to yourself. This silent review is a training in coherence. In your environment, apply the discipline of physical organization. Joe Dispenza reminds us that the external reflects the internal. Brian Tracy reinforces that every object out of place is a reminder of dispersed energy. So start small. Choose a space, organize, clean, and let go of what no longer serves you. This simple action sends a direct signal to your subconscious: I am in control. Don't underestimate the power of a tidy desk or a clean room. They are vibrational anchors that support clarity and focus. In finances, the connection is even clearer. Spirituality says, prosperity is energy, but this energy only flows when there's space. If you live in debt, anxious, spending more than you earn, the field understands that you still vibrate scarcity. Financial discipline is the system that sustains the vibration of abundance. This means looking straight at your numbers, recording income and expenses, cutting excess, saving a percentage, even if it's small. Each time you do this, you're telling the universe, I respect the energy of money. And the field responds with more. With emotions, the process is the same. How many times have you let anger or anxiety decide for you? This is emotional disorder. The field notices when you react on autopilot. The discipline here is simple but powerful. Pause, breathe, observe before reacting. Create an internal system of self-control. It's not about repressing emotions, it's about channeling them. Transforming anger into energy for action, sadness into reflection, anxiety into redirection. Each conscious pause is a vibrational declaration of order. In relationships, the union of frequency and discipline is also vital. The field responds to the energy of the people you associate with. If you surround yourself with negativity, complaints, and chaos, you absorb that frequency. The discipline here is choosing who you spend your time with, setting clear boundaries, saying no when necessary. This filter isn't coldness, it's vibrational maturity. Because when you protect your energy, you protect your future. Realize how everything is interconnected. What Joe Dispenza calls vibrational coherence, Brian Tracy calls practical discipline. One speaks of frequency, the other of system. But both point to the same truth. Order breeds prosperity. Chaos may seem normal, but order is the gateway to the financial miracle you desire. And the most inspiring thing is that you don't need to change everything at once. You just need to start. The field doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. If you decide today to organize a space, review an account, adjust a habit, this small action creates a huge vibrational impact. Because the universe doesn't measure the size of the gesture, but the clarity of the intention. Remember, prosperity doesn't manifest amidst chaos. It needs structure to flourish. The financial miracle you hope for won't arrive amidst hidden debts, confused thoughts, and toxic relationships. It only happens when there is space, order, and coherence. And order begins silently in the shadows of your mind, in the choices no one sees, but which change everything. So look around you and within yourself. Ask, what can I organize today silently that will make space for the miracle to happen? The answer doesn't have to be grand. It could be making your bed, recording your expenses, forgiving an emotional debt, cleaning out a drawer. These simple gestures are like vibrational codes that tell the field, I am ready. And when the field recognizes this readiness, it responds. It always responds. Now that you understand the power of silent order, it's time to integrate everything within yourself. Because it's not just about knowing, it's about living. Every organized thought, every clean environment, every orderly finance, all of this is a signal sent to the universe. It's as if you were silently saying, I respect my life, I respect the energy I've been given. And when this message vibrates clearly, the quantum field doesn't resist, it responds. The financial miracle you so desire doesn't arise by chance, but by coherence. It appears when your mind, your heart, and your daily actions align. You may still be waiting for a big event, a sudden change, but the truth is that the universe moves in the details. It's in the decision to pay a bill, in the act of tidying your space, in the act of reviewing your choices at the end of the day, that the new reality begins to manifest. Realize, everything that seemed out of control can be reorganized from within. Chaos no longer has power over you when your mind finds clarity. Clutter loses its power when you decide to give each thing a place, and scarcity dissolves when you begin to honor each resource, each coin, each opportunity. It is in this state that the financial miracle happens, not as a prize for the few, but as the natural consequence of those who organize themselves in silence and sustain the frequency of abundance. And if at any point you find difficulty maintaining this new pattern, remember, you are not alone. There is a vibrational path that can support you every step of this journey. That's why we created the new Vibrational Reality Manual. More than a book, it's a field, a practical guide to consolidate inner order and sustain the prosperity you've already begun to activate. If this video spoke to you, then the manual is the next step that will help you maintain this frequency. The link is in the pinned comment. Now I want you to declare a powerful phrase in the comments to anchor this transformation in your life. I have organized my life and I am ready for eternal blessings. This isn't just a phrase, it's a vibrational commitment. It's the confirmation that you will no longer return to chaos, that order has become your new path. And if this message resonated with you, don't stop here. There's a continuity to this process, and you need to watch the previous video. Repeat this psalm once for 7 days and a financial miracle will enter your life. It's here on the side or in the link in the description. Don't skip this step, because together, these contents form a powerful chain of organization, faith, and prosperity. So take a deep breath and choose. Life has already answered. Now it's up to you to decide to remain in this state of order and abundance, because when you organize your life in silence, miracles become inevitable.